For a moment, I feel like I just blanked out. Like I couldn't, like as soon as I got on that stage. First, even when they said the name of the album, I still didn't believe it, you know?
So he's being called one of the freshest voices in reggae today.
So with more than 20 million streams, Jamaican music artist Keznamdi is making major waves.
I think that we are part of the legacy of the role that this special music plays in people's life.
This Grammy goes to Love and Fire.
Congratulations.
Yes.
On your Grammy Award for Best Reggae Album.
Yes.
Just last night.
Yeah, man.
Yay. How did that feel? How did that feel at the moment?
Oh man, it was surreal. Like, for a moment, I feel like I just blanked out. Like I couldn't, like as soon as I got on that stage. First, even when they said the name of the album, I still didn't believe it, you know? I think it's safe to say that we made a lot of people proud, you know? A lot of people who been on our journey from day one. A lot of people who been just watching us, you know what I mean? And I think what we represent, you know what I mean, in our music, all those people who listen to the music and stuff, seeing us on that stage, it was a huge win for reggae music and Rastafari community, you know. So.
Well, you spoke to it in your speech.
Yeah.
Holding that trophy for Blood and Fire, you told the world very specifically. Reggae music has always been a music will defend truths and rights and African liberation and black man redemption.
Yeah.
And that's resistance, no matter how you slice it. You know?
Yeah.
Is that what gives reggae music its resonance and such power to its lovers, do you think?
Definitely. I think that reggae music is one of the few genres out there, or probably the only genre, that continually talks about African liberation. You know what I mean? So it's one of the only genres that talk about consciousness and being conscious within, and you know what I mean? A lot of the other genres it's not as deep as that one. And I think that's why reggae music is so globally accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like heartbeat music.
Yeah.
You know, it speaks to the past,
Yeah.
the present, and the future in a way that should make you very proud.
Yeah, and then you have some art. You have two kinds of art. You have art that is fantasy, and it takes you away from your reality. And then you have art that hits you head on, dead on with reality, but it's still soothing because it's art, you know. So I choose the direction of hitting your heart with the reality. You know? Yeah.
Well, you do it beautifully and so smoothly. And again, there's a real craftsmanship to the work that you make.
Yeah, man.
That is very important and should make you very, very happy, because it certainly does other people.
Yeah.
Please know that.
Yeah,
What was your weekend like ahead of the awards ceremony? Like, did you stay for the entire show? Did you leave after you won? Like, what was your lead up?
Leading up, we had a lot of events, a lot of press. You know what I mean? It was a roller coaster of emotions. You know, these are things that I don't really like doing, because it's like, you know, you don't want to let anybody down. You know, I know that being nominated is a huge win, you know, in itself. You know what I mean? So big up to all the nominees as well. But you still don't want to let anybody down, because everybody's hoping that you win, and you know what this would mean if you win. You know, so there was a little pressure there, I felt. You know what I mean? On the day it was even worse. You know, as we got, I think we were on the red carpet and we couldn't find the arena, because the red carpet is outside of the arena, and we were trying to find it. The whole team was texting us, "Where are you? You're about to be 5 categories." We came like 4 categories before actually finding our seat, you know. But yeah, man, it was just been a whole overwhelming amount of joy, and just testimonies and calls from family and messages. it's this is the day after, and we still, you know what I mean, like I don't know how to process it, to be honest.
Sure.
You know?
I know you're still getting tons of reaction from people who were just joyous.
Yeah.
Who did you call immediately, or when you had the time and could sit and sort of breathe afterwards?
As soon as we walked off stage, it was my father calling me. And it was a call where my entire family was on a Zoom watching in Jamaica, you know. And, you know, at that time, everybody was crying on the phone. Like my mother, my sister, my father. I'm looking around me, all the people who were on stage were crying, and it's like I was trying my best, 'cause, you know, we don't too want to like cry over our award or like make it seem, you know what I mean? But it was, I couldn't hold it back. Tears just come to my eye, and seeing how proud I made my people and the nation behind me that has me here, making me win these awards, is just like, yo, I couldn't do nothing but just bawl. We just start crying. Yeah.
Happiness. What can you do? That's wonderful. Some very specifically about just the amazing, iconic artists that come from your home nation, and whether or not you feel, I mean, how could you not? But do you feel attached to their respective musical legacies now that the Recording Academy has recognized the magic that you make in the same way?
I think it's not even attached, it's a part of it, you know? I think that we are part of the legacy of the role that this special music plays in people's life. And it's also a reminder of how serious you have to take this music, you know, because people become your songs, people become your melodies, and people become your words. And that's not something to play with, you know?
Yeah.
It can have severe karma if you play with that kind of responsibility, you know?
Sure.
And some people choose to understand and know that they have that responsibility, and some people don't care, you know? But for me, I care because I know the influence that I have.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But then again, even specific with the award and winning the Grammy, it's very humbling. You know what I mean? And that part, like knowing that, like, you know, the first Grammy was for Black Uru, you know? And, you know, these are people that really set the foundation for us. I actually wanted to mention that in my speech, but right as I said Black Redemption, I blanked out completely. Like after that, it was just like, you know, I don't even remember what I had kind of scripted in my mind, you know? But that was one thing that I wanted to say, is that, you know, big respect to all of the elders that laid this foundation and this route for us to travel on, which is not a career route, but a route of the arts, and putting that, like navigating the arts and like staying true to the music and true to the mission and true to what we stand for as a people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, your music speaks to that very, very well.
Yeah.
You know, and Blood and Fire in particular is just, that's a real work of art.
Yeah, man.
I mean, note for note, song for song, it's perfection. So don't ever doubt that.
Yeah.
What, first of all, the name Blood and Fire, where did that name come from? What inspired you to name your album Blood and Fire?
Blood and Fire now is a mixture of cause and mission combined with the personal journey and how all of that interplay, you know. And so blood is a sacrifice, you know what I mean, that we put into this. And, you know, like those unseen moments in those quiet little rooms where nobody's listening and nobody cares, to being on a stage where you have hundreds of thousands of people viewing, you know. And then the fire now is the fire that needs to be within to burn that fire of the Babylon system. You know, when we say Babylon, it's not a place. It's more of, it's a systematic oppression. So whenever anybody hears a Rasta man say Babylon, it's not a place, it's that systematic oppression that we all face by being in this matrix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, man, so Blood and Fire is really also the burning of something to becoming something new.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, Blood and Fire.
What was it like growing up as a child of parents making music together?
Yeah,
And
man.
what was, or when did you and your sister start singing together too, as a result of that upbringing?
Chakula and Goldilocks, my parents now, serious activists and revolutionaries. Like, that was the environment. It was bigger than music, you know.
Sure.
At a young age, obviously, I didn't understand. It was cool to see your parents do music. It was a cool thing. I thought that most parents did music, you know what I mean? I thought that was normal, you know. But after getting a little older, I started to understand this not normal, you know. And then actually, when I started becoming my teens, I started to understand what this music actually meant. And that's when I started to like take a little bit more like a liking to it, where I wanted to flirt with the idea of music a little bit more, not just because it's in the household, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, on the other hand, she is the talented one in the family. You know, she's the one who can just effortlessly sing, you know. For me, I couldn't sing, you know what I mean? So there was no, like, football was my thing. In America, we call it soccer,
Yes,
you know what I
yes.
mean? But, you know, in Jamaica, we call it football. That was really what I was good at, you know? So it started out with a lot of words for me, you know, with like poems and words. Before it became musical, it was more like being a wordsmith.
Okay.
And then I was doing a lot of rapping. I was heavily influenced by hip hop at a young age. And I was doing rapping, like real, like American rapping, you know. You know, and then, you know, as we got a little deeper now, you know, my father was very adamant about me learning an instrument. Like, if you're really gonna take this music thing serious, you have to learn an instrument, you know. You have to at least get intimate with the instrument. And when I picked up the guitar, I feel like that's when a big switch and a big connection with music happened with me. And then now the foundation of being in a household in music, it became a tool now later on in my life.
Sure.
That I didn't know that I was understand, like being in the hearing my father speak of certain things and my mother fight certain fights as a Rasta in Jamaica, you know what I mean? And just like seeing that and then hearing the music, like it was like tools that I was able to use, you know, the latter part in my life that I was able to use in my music to this day, you know.
Yeah. And also just as you know, again, just growing up and understanding what was around you,
Yeah.
you know, and how it helped fuel who you became.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I feel like, to be honest, I feel like that's my superpower. Was that environment that my parents created for me is my serious superpower, like where I can really tap into a different level of inspiration on a deeper level because of just how they exposed spirituality to me. It wasn't like this force of religion or anything. It was like real, like spirituality connecting, looking inward from a very young age. My parents found very clever ways to get that through to me as a little youth, you know. So I feel like in my music, that is what probably makes my music, as some people say, cutting edge, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely reflected in
Yeah.
every note you play, every lyric coming out of you
You know, man.
reflects what you come from, and it's something to celebrate, every
Yeah.
bit of it.
You know, man, respect.
Were there any particular experiences of your parents as musicians that impacted your approach to making music? Were there any things that they taught you to do and not to do?
I think two things. From a discipline perspective, they rehearsed hours and hours with their band.
Okay.
So I think like being around that and when they were rehearsing, that was my free play, because now there was no parents really, you know. So we would get to go out and play, and like now we don't really have because they're rehearsing. But I just remember that as a youth, just like hours and hours of rehearsal. But I also think that, you know, my parents were just very adamant about what am I saying in my music, you know. Like when I would come to them and play some little song, you know, my father would be like, "I think you're joking, this not ready yet, bro. You know, this, what are you saying?" You know what I mean? So I think that's what I really took from them, where, just music with a message, man. As cliche as it is, like music with a deep resonance of message, you know. And that's what I would take from just how them approach. My father wake up every morning and write a song up to this day. He has a book full of songs like this. You know, he's literally a walking album. And then my mother now, she somehow figures out how to bring folk in her music. Like she can really bring Jamaican folk music in her music, and with the kind of melodies she sings, and the way she approaches her arrangement and her harmonies and stuff like that. But yeah, man.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you have any other mentors coming up as you were developing yourself as an artist?
Yeah. I was in a group when I was living in Tanzania. There was a group called D-Zone, Danger Zone. You know, that's what it was. And they were like seniors and juniors at the time, and I was like 8th grade. And I just remember like two of my good friends up to this day, Tony the Wolf and Elgin, they used to freestyle all the time at school. And it intrigued me. Like it was like I need to learn how to do that. And I remember they used to do a lot of battles, like freestyle battles in classrooms and stuff. And I remember I went up to Elgin and I was like, "Yo, bro," I never know him, and say, "Yo, you have to teach me how to do this," you know. And then I would just go to their studio sessions all the time. And I always wanted to be in a group, but I was a young one, you know. They were seniors, I was just 9th grade. But I feel like that really honed in a lot of my lyrical skills. Calico, who is my brother-in-law, who is a very talented artist and lyricist, and you know, he spent a lot of time helping me understand the recording process, like how to record endings, how to put together your rhyme scheme, where this word rhymes with that, and like your cadence. I remember when I was when we were in this little apartment on University Avenue in Berkeley, he was in the other side of the room, and he would just be laying down there, and he would knock on the wall, and he would say, "Do that line again," you know. And I would do one line for like 6 hours.
Till you got it right.
Till I got it right, you know. And looking back at those moments, it really set a foundation for me to venture off. And I felt like Calico did I really wanted him more a part of my recording process at the time because he was so good. But I also feel like he purposely never did that because he wanted me to figure it out on my own.
Sure, and he knew that you could.
And he knew that I could, I feel like, you know. So he still like was there, but not there at the same time, to make sure that like I figure this out and don't depend on him for that, you know. Yeah.
It's wonderful that you mentioned freestyle, because one of hip hop's greatest freestylers ever, Mad Skillz, also got his Grammy last night.
Oh yeah?
He got a Grammy for, I think, Best Spoken Word Album.
Oh, was that the person who like freestyled for like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? Or is that the same person?
I'm not even sure if it's the same one that we're talking about specifically around that. But Mad Skillz used to freestyle years ago. It was him and MC Supernatural. I think Mad Skillz, was he in Virginia? I know it was somewhere in sort of the South, and Mad Skills was out here in California. And those were the two names at around the same time that Good Life Cafe was burgeoning brilliance out of Freestyle Fellowship. And those gentlemen out of LA, they were just, again, just making magic and being who they were and growing into, you know, what would resonate, you know, for the people who enjoyed them, you know. And that's great that you had somebody around you to let you know that you had it. You just had to find it. That's a big deal. Tell me about living around the world in such an you know, array of countries and how those years shaped you as an artist and as an individual.
I think moving around a lot, I feel like it matured me quicker than the average child in that position. Because you have to learn how to adapt really quickly, you know, and that kind of adapting, I just felt like I was always like ahead in certain things, like with myself, you know, I'm being comfortable with myself and who I am, you know what I mean? And just like traveling is the best teacher, you know what I mean? Like there's no classroom that can teach you going to a different country, being exposed to a different language, being exposed to a totally different culture from yours, to a different people, and on top of that, you being the odd one out, like you being the person that is totally different, you know. So I feel like even musically, being exposed to all those cultures, different musics, different food, just all these things played such an integral role into who I am and what I feel like I can contribute on a global space in this thing called music. You know?
Absolutely.
It's
almost service work, you know, when you put out the kind of resistant music that still reflects so many, your appreciation of so many people.
And I feel like my first project was called Bridging the Gap. And I felt like, you know, even being somebody of mixed race and like being somebody who traveled to so much different places, you know, and lived into so much different places, I feel like that's also another superpower of mine, you know, whereas like I'm very good at bringing worlds together, you know.
That's wonderful.
And I feel like with globalization and the internet and technology, that's where you that's how you're going to be able to like connect with people, is if you're able to bring worlds together, you know.
Who are the people who you consider your true team, and how did you find them, or they, you know, they found you? And how do they keep you on path?
I read something one time that says you can't find a team, you have to attract it. You know, and it's very true. You know, like anybody that's been on my journey for this since the beginning, it's not like we planned it. It's not like, yo, you're gonna come and be my manager, or it was just something where they just seen the vision, you know. So obviously T sitting right here. T, we went to school together in college, you know, and he was just a fan of my music, you know, like, or not even say, because at that time it wasn't even like that. I think he just really seen what I was doing and how passionate I was about my craft, and then he watched the growth of the music happen, you know, and you know, he was the kind of person that was doing everything, like, and he would never want to be called a manager, you know. He's like, yo, I'm not a manager, I'm here, you know what I mean? That's, you know. But somebody with that kind of passion, you can't pay that kind of person to do that, or you can't, you can't, those kind of things, you have to attract that, you know. And there's many other people that along the way that are forced to bring on.
Okay.
Because, you know, we're trying to expand, we're trying to think, and it didn't work out because we're trying to force them, we're trying to make them see the vision, and it's just like, you know. And who connected us, Nella, is somebody who came on this campaign early out for Blood and Fire, and she was not supposed to do what she's doing now. You know, she came on just to come and help us with just a couple marketing for a couple songs, and now she's full-fledged in the roller coaster with us, you know what I mean?
And enjoying the ride,
And
by the way.
enjoying the ride, you know what I mean? And creating a nice dynamic where this is the first time we have a woman on the team. And
Good.
having a woman on the team is like a different level of putting things together, you know what I mean? And then we have people like Biggs, who is my childhood friend. Like since I was 15, 14, I knew this person, and he had a vision of engineering, but along the way, he has played million. Look, he was here helping us set up this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, everybody involved in this, just they see the vision, and they know the work that it's going to take. And because they see the vision, they don't see it as work, because they know what's about to happen. So it's just things that we have to get done. And this is the first time in my life I could say that I have a full team, like all gears moving together, many departments. Like we were just talking about that as my core, but you know, we have our booking agent, we have a bunch of different contractors on the marketing side, we have somebody handling merch for us, we have, you know, the core team.
Sure.
We have our lawyers, our account. Like this is the first time I'm seeing. In fact, we were trying to have a meeting because most of the team lives in LA.
Okay.
So we were trying to have a meeting, but because of all the events, because we couldn't get everybody together. But yeah, we have a bunch of departments moving all at once, cohesively for the first time.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
How was the making of Blood and Fire different than the creation of your previous works?
I think when I created my first EP, I didn't know what I was doing. It was like just, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going in the studio and just practicing. And then I think Skyline Levels Volume 1, which was my second EP, I slowly started to get it a little bit, but it was very experimental, and it was further away from my roots. You know, I was traveling, you know, my father used to tell me, say, yo, it's the roots of the reggae, and that the people want, you know? And it's funny because full circle moment is true. You know, the whole time I thought he was just trying to him just want, you know? So, but then Bloodline, now, my first album, I felt like that was the first time that I got it right in terms of musically. But the difference between Bloodline and Blood and Fire is that Blood and Fire was, I didn't compromise the message for a rhyme scheme or a melody. Like in Bloodline, I felt like I did that a little more. But like in Blood and Fire now, even if I would lose the rhyme scheme, it like the message was more important, and I was willing to risk that. You know, I was willing to, like, there was many lines on the album that I felt like if I said it this way, it probably would have sounded cool, like it would have sounded more in sync with the music, but it was just like the message, you know, like what we really are said, what am I bringing to the table on this landscape, like how can I bring something new, even with this, still keeping the authenticity of the roots and the foundation of this culture, you know. So I feel like there was just a lot more fiery, you know, Blood and Fire. There's a lot more fire, and you know, I'm just going through a space in my life where I'm starting to realize this theme of time, and it's been hitting me in different ways and places of like, we don't really have much time here, you know, and it's very important to be direct with what I'm doing and very intentional and very purposeful, you know, and even with just the rollout of the project, like we didn't take any interviews, this is our first real sit down of an interview, you know what I mean? Like we did a couple radio stuff and just promoting the songs, but like a real sit down like this, we had many opportunities to do that, like attractive ones too, that would probably make sense. But as a team, I felt like we just really wanted to do the works. You know, I felt like when I was looking on, being on social media and scrolling, it's just a bunch of chatting and a bunch of like nothing. You know what I mean? Like, where's the substance? And I didn't feel comfortable having a conversation until I provided some kind of substance and value to the space, you know. So it was hard at times because we had certain shows, we had certain concerts that we wanted to do. We still haven't done one show since this album has been released, you know.
Oh my God.
And you know, sometimes it's you have to be kind of confident and really believe in what you're doing, because most people would probably want to do those opportunities, you know, but I didn't want to derail from what we're doing, you know. So I think that's the difference with the Blood and Fire, where I think I'm just very comfortable in what I'm doing now, like comfortable with myself, and I'm second guessing myself a lot less. You know what I mean? Like I'm very, like I know what I want to see, I know what I want to hear, and I know how I want it to be presented, and I'm not going to compromise it. You know, and that's why we haven't done certain shows, we haven't done any interviews, we haven't done anything until I felt like this was a milestone, where it's like, all right, let's sit down and, you know, talk about the journey and let people inside a little bit too.
Absolutely. It helps them to value it more.
Yeah.
You know, particularly when you're talking about promoting, and that's the thing, it's promoting. When you talk about shows that you have, you know, maybe doing, and you might need to talk to A, B, C, and D to, you know, make sure that this happens. But if it's not in you the way that it needs to be, then that comes off too. And why do that?
Yeah, and I also feel like with this thing I call reggae music, I have this burning fire in me to like keep the standard and the art really high. Yeah. Because I really know what this music can do globally. And there's hints of it through, you know, the Marleys and the greats that you were talking about before, but we want to see more of it, because I feel like there's an imbalance of consciousness in the music. I'm not saying that the other music is bad or anything, we appreciate it still, but I feel like there needs to be a more balance in the landscape, you know, and that's why I feel like I'm not willing to compromise just doing any show. Like if I'm going to do a show, it has to be at the highest regard to represent the culture. So when people looking in, they're taking us serious and taking the message and what we're doing serious. Yeah.
Do you think that your independence plays into that? You know, the idea that you are, not an idea, but the fact that you are truly an independent artist versus one signed to a corporation?
Yeah, I think so. I think having such a small team, there's less heads in a kitchen or less cooks in a kitchen, you know what I mean? So not that labels are bad or not that, you know, like we've had many conversations along the way, like the lists, you know, and every time they have come, it just didn't feel right, you know what I mean? To make that partnership with a massive label at the time, you know what I mean? And so it forced us to fight our own battles, you know, where when you go through it and you see the journey, looking back at it, it's so much more worth it. And there's so much more lessons learned being independent, know that we did it by ourselves, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I just never want to give that credit there at this time of life to anybody else but my team, you know what I mean? Because we really fight some battles out there, you know? Like if people really know the deepness, that's another conversation, just the certain things that happen along the way, man. Yeah, man.
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
too one day,
yeah,
for sure,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Do you have a particular ritual when it comes to crafting your songs?
You know, I do this thing where whenever I'm doing like a little prayer to myself, you know, I always like, it's first time I'm probably saying this, but like I always ask the Almighty and the Divine to keep giving me these pure inspirations. And it's something that I always like just say to myself, like, just keep giving me these pure inspirations and I won't take it for granted and I won't misuse it, you know. And but going in the music part of it is not a ritual. It's more like the way I live my life. I think as a creative, you have to live life differently because you have to receive information differently. Like we might be in a conversation and even though I'm involved in the conversation, I'm still taking it in differently because it's probably an inspiring conversation. So what I'm downloading in that moment is not what another person, because another person is just having a conversation. I'm actually receiving this and possibly going to put this in art, you know. So I think it's just the way I live my life. It's a very creative way, and I try my best to keep my mind as least noisy as possible to allow the space for creativity to come through. But then again, you know, I don't really force it. You know, I get a lot of anxiety when I'm not recording, but it is what it is. I still don't force it. I try to do different things where, like, if I'm having a so-called writer's block, I try to not think about making a record, but just writing lyrics without and me doing that, songs like Identity Crisis or the Hollywood Freestyle were all moments of a writer's block where I just didn't have any. I promised myself I was not going to be overcritical because I'm super critical of what I'm recording, you know.
I was going to ask you, specifically when it comes to songwriting, and you just sort of kind of explained it to me, but I want to get real clarity. From a writing standpoint, do you craft songs creatively more as messages you feel the urgency to get out, or messages you urgently want your audience to hear? Because I know that there's a difference.
Yeah, I think it's like two things. I think lately, if I was to like see and look at myself from a third person perspective, lately I've been heavily driven about staying on the pulse of the people and like saying what I'm seeing and like giving that message. But then, and that's more like the selfless part of the music where you're just providing a service and providing a conversation, like songs like Colonial Bondage. Now I'm ambassador for JABEM, which is the Jamaican Birthright Beach Association, which they want to use it. And so, you know, creating these songs where it has these themes in it. And now we're creating a conversation. Now we're a part of something because of this melody.
Yeah.
But then now on a personal level, and I'm more like, there's a level of therapy for me. Like when I'm going inward and like trying to process my feelings about certain things that happen to me on a personal level. That level of therapy is like, I don't really talk about what I go through with anybody. You know what I mean? I'm not that kind of person. Like if I ask anybody around me, I don't complain. I don't really make things, you know, not that it doesn't bother me, but I don't know. I process, maybe it's not a good thing too, but I internalize a lot of this stuff, you know. But the one thing that helps me to process it a little better is writing songs and writing about these feelings and these stories. And I still, as an artist, I still try to do it in a way where me being human and singing about me being human, is going to be relatable still.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. And some of those things are, difficult to share. It's one thing to get them out of you, but it's another thing to share them with others.
Yeah, definitely. It's very. That's why I don't like to do a lot of. I spend a lot of time by myself recording these songs. Like it's me in one little quiet space, because it's such a recording for me is so vulnerable. It's not a sport for me. This is like literally my life for me. I sing and experience. So it's like being in a studio where you have 10 people there. I can't get intimate. I can't get, you know what I mean? It's not a sport for me. Yeah.
Tell me about those beautiful babies
Yeah.
and those wonderful elders
Yeah.
in your Forever Grateful video, because
Yeah.
I had that thing on loop. So
Yeah.
please tell me all
Yeah.
about them.
Well, I'm glad you said that, the elders and the youth, I'm in a very unique space right now in my life where um, I'm old enough to have certain wisdoms downloaded on my software, but I'm still young enough to relate to a teenager or a 16-year-old youth. And it goes back to even that common theme of time. So for me, I have two sons, Kesale and Kesete, and one is 6 and one is about to be 3 years old, So it's a roller coaster in the household, you know what I mean? They keep me and the mother of my child very busy, you know what I mean? But again, in one of my songs I say, watch my son I get taller and the gray hair from my father and the times getting harder. So that line of talking about seeing my parents age is crazy to me, because they're like my superheroes, And then also seeing my son get taller and grow older, it really like teaches you about time in a very different way than any other thing that I've experienced. But yeah, man, it brings a lot more meaning to my life, knowing that there's this little thing and this little body that you have to guide and bring through creation in this cold world. So it brings a lot of meaning. It makes my steps more purposeful. It makes me use my time a lot more. Like I used to just be all day in the studio. Now I only have like 2 hours to knock out this session and do it right, Like, because I have 2 hours, because after that I have to go pick up Kesale from school or whatever. So I think they've helped me to bring a lot more structure into my life when I had none before, because I have to know, because the children do their best with structure, I believe, And so I have to know I don't have a choice, But it's amazing, man, to have that life force pushing me. Yeah.
Like I said, that video absolutely reflects that appreciation, that intergenerational
Yeah.
love.
Yeah, man.
Even with you all just sitting there playing the bongos for a second.
Yes, man.
It's just all of it.
Yeah,
It sings to your spirit in a way that you should be very, very proud.
Yeah, and their grandmother just bought them 2 little like child pianos, and they're both like performing, and like for me, I don't discourage them, but it's scary too, because I just know how dark this road is moving in music, and so to see them impersonating me or imitating me is like, it's scary, but I love it, because I guess one of our trades as a family is music. Some people's trade is being a doctor, and they have a bunch of doctors in their family or a bunch of lawyers. One of our trades in our family is music. Like my son, his grandparents are both artists. All his aunts and uncles are artists. And artists who are doing very well for themselves, you know. And then their father, you know what I mean? So it's just a part, I guess it's just a part of who we are, you know? Yeah.
But they get to watch you
Yeah.
turn into the superhero that they are going to be absolutely worshiping and making proud very shortly as time flies.
Yeah.
What would be your dream collaboration? Who would you love to work with more than anybody?
You know, I'll say some names. Like definitely, you know, I'm a huge fan of Burning Spear, you know, and just how he has carried himself throughout the world and throughout navigating this music journey. And he's still living. So I'll give you one non-name, probably like Fela Kuti. You know what I mean? But then again, you know, like features, I don't look at it like that anymore.
Okay.
You know, it's not even about that, like, oh, I'm gonna have this dream feature. You know, like, if it come, you know. If it forward, if the feature forward and it does, I feel like when you go looking for a feature, it's gonna cause you more problems than solutions.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
if the feature is not both from two sides of the end, you know, like, you feel the same way about the artist and that artist feels the same way about you, it's not going to have that resonance out there because it's going to be hard to mobilize, it's going to be hard to, you know, so.
You almost give them a bit of an advantage in certain ways. I see what you
Yeah, and it's not even an advantage, it's just hard to mobilize. If they don't have that same appreciation for your craft and your art, it's hard to mobilize someone to do anything, you know, so I like to work with people. That's why my features have been very picky about it and, like, you know, working with people who, you know, are just very unique, you know. It's not about the name, you know what I mean? It's more about how unique this person is. Like, on my first album, on a song called Justice, the chorus is sung by Errol Edwards, who is my gardener in Jamaica. And he gardens and he take care of the land and he help us farm up the area and everything, you know. And he's somebody who always is singing outside. And one time I was out the studio and I heard him, I said, Errol, are you that I sing? And he said, yeah man, you know. He's a countryman from Jamaica, real countryman, you know. And we brought him in the studio. He knew nothing about recording. And to me, I would say that's probably one of my favorite collabs is with him, you know. So that's an example of, you know, this person is a gardener, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
But that's an organic, a real organic
real
experience.
thing, you know what I mean?
That's wonderful.
And not also just organic, but like real personal. Like, I grew up with this person, you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
Yeah. Music is too intimate for me to dream of features.
Okay.
The intimacy make it very, like, you need to attract the feature. Not say that's where I'm at today. Before, I was always, I need to get that feature and that's gonna do, and I got it. And it did nothing for me. You know what I mean? So it's not about that anymore. You know, it's more about, in fact, the songs that I attracted the feature probably did way more than the so-called big names are, you know. Yeah.
That's a good lesson to learn too.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself more analog or digital?
Well, this whole album is analog. So all of this was recorded on a SSL Duality, which is an analog board. And everything is grassroots, and even with the engineering and the mixing of it, I was very adamant about not using auto-tune. We use like Melodyne in certain areas where maybe I was a little bit sharp, but I like the performance of the take. I would just fix that specific part, but not using a full auto-tune to like put this kind of AI sound on my vocal, you know. And if you listen to the album, any engineer out there, there's very little reverb, if not none, you know. So we tried not to over process it. And I'm so happy that I did that, because in this day and age where AI is becoming so powerful, I think that at first it was scary for me. And I think it scares a lot of people in their specific fields. But as a musician now, I actually feel more empowered by it. Because now, me being real and authentic make me more valuable in this day and age than AI that can just copy music.
Yeah.
And I feel like humans are going to value that a lot more. Like you're going to have apps where there's no, to listen to music, there's not going to be any AI on it. It's just going to be humans, you know, and that's going to be more important in the future. So super happy that I took that approach when I was recording this album, you know, where everything is analog. We did a whole master of it through tape, you know what I mean? Which we don't have to do all that, you know. But I just wanted to take that extra step to really make sure, say, the music is dense, you know. Yeah.
Okay.
There's something about analog recordings that digital cannot capture.
No,
You know. Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you specifically about analog versus digital, or analog and digital, because AI terrifies me. It really does.
Yeah.
I don't trust it. I just, you know, I don't, maybe because I don't know enough about it, but there's something about the idea of Black geniuses utilizing their excellence and exposing it to folks who might not have the same value of it as they should, and may capitalize on it in ways that don't help the artist, you know?
Yeah.
It's very weird. But, and plus too, we're in a day and age of convenience and entitlement, you know, that's sort of odd and, again, sort of terrifying. But anyway, I have got a bunch of questions that I want to ask you,
Okay.
just specifically around some more personal stuff, but
Okay.
kind of
Okay.
artistic.
Okay.
What was the first live music concert you attended without your parents?
Without my parents, wow. Well, my parents used to take me to a festival called Sunsplash in Jamaica. Now it's called Sunfest. That was like the first festivals that like Bob Marley was a part of and stuff. And obviously I wasn't born when Bob Marley, but later on they would take us and all of us as kids in the tents and stuff. Actually, my first performance was a lot of probably dancehall music.
Okay.
When I was in Jamaica, we call it first farm and second farm. When I was living in Jamaica, a lot of the dancehall acts would come to our barbecues at school or stuff like that. Like, you know, like Vibes Cartel. I remember that one very like vividly of when he came to our school and performed. But I was still young. That was still brought to me because I was at school. But when I moved to Tanzania now, there's certain performances that I remember when TOK and Shaggy came to Tanzania, or even Luciano. They came to Tanzania. It was such a empowering moment for me as a Jamaican, because like all these people coming out here to celebrate our culture, and I'm all the way over here in Africa. So I remember that. I remember those moments, definitely. And yeah.
What has been your most recent live show strictly as an enjoyer and not a performer?
As an enjoyer? That's a good question. I haven't been out lately. I've been inside lately. Actually, that's a lot. I really love, we went to go and see the Traffic Jam tour with Stephen Marley and Damian Marley.
Oh, yeah.
And I really loved that performance because it was the first time seeing them perform the songs like the actual record.
Okay.
Like, usually they would add a lot more like hype in a good way, like energy, I would say, not even hype, energy in their sets to like entertain crowd. But I feel like for some reason they didn't want to do that in this set. You know, I feel like they were very adamant about. I could see maybe, but I could see the creative behind it, wanting to keep it as close to as the album as possible.
Okay.
And I really just like, cause they were a big influence for me as a young youth. So being an adult now and experiencing that, it was like really, it was a great experience experiencing that. Yeah.
Good. What is your go-to source of joy and revival when you need it?
Natural resources, the river, the beach, and the hills. You know what I mean? One of the three will get me right. You know what I mean? And leaving America. Anytime I leave America, it's a great reset for my spirituality and my consciousness. You know?
I just bet, particularly now in this day and age.
Yeah.
What's the hands down most delicious meal you've ever eaten, and what was the scenario?
You know what's funny? I don't really explore a lot of food. You know? Me, I like to look into my plate and see that everything is from the ground, nothing processed. When I get that kind of plate, it's like I'll do that over and over and over again. To be honest, I've been cooking a lot lately because I can't find anything that I like too much eating out. You know what I mean? So just the basic stew peas or curry chickpeas or, you know, in Jamaica we call it ital stew, you know, which ital means, they say ital is vital. We were the first vegans. And the vegan is not even a real word. Vegan is still involve a lot of processing.
Yeah.
But the ital now is the life force of food, because a lot of the revolution, the bulk of it is fought in what we put into our bodies, whether on a metaphysical, musical level or from the food that we eat in.
Sure.
And that's the real revolution, when you can not be lazy, because it's so easy to just eat what is given to you or listen to what is given to you, because it's right there and it's so accessible and it's very convenient.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Convenience, yes.
So, but the thing is now to sit and, like, when I go into a supermarket, it takes me much longer than the average person, because I have to sit and read every ingredient. Anything that I don't know, I have to Google it and make sure. And, you know, so we try our best to be as health conscious as possible. But at the end of the day, we still live in the Gideon, and we live in this cruel world where sometimes we're on tour and nothing is around and we still have to survive, and you have to just eat a fries or, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, the regular Jamaican food, I love the Jamaican food. Like
Yum.
the flavoring and the seasoning of Jamaican food. And let me not leave out this one, Habesha food, which comes from Eastern Africa, which is from Ethiopia and Eritrea. They eat injera and shodo and mesen, and these are the food that they eat when they're fasting.
Oh, okay.
So when I was living in, because in the Orthodox religion, they fast a lot for most of the year. So they have a very balanced diet. So we love that kind of, like, when they're fasting is the best, you know what I mean? Because mother of my children, she's Habesha, so we get a lot of Habesha food in the household. Yeah.
What qualities do you most desire in the people you work with? And what do you hope that your producers and your people working around you glean from working with you?
On a song,
Period.
the will, I think, is very important. Like, I want to see that will in you to be great, because I'm trying to do things that are unfathomable, kind of, you know. So it's like the willpower within somebody, and the like, laziness is a pet peeve of mine, like, or excuses, you know, like we have to work, you know, and committed to committed to the work and not the result.
Okay.
You know, because the result is only an illusion. And you can see that. I can see in somebody's eye from the first time you see them in 1 second if they're really about what they're doing. You know what I mean? And about their craft or about their specific thing. But for me to be great, all the other departments and the nation behind me have to be super great. You know what I mean? And and be willing to grow because I grow very quickly. So if you're not growing with me, it is like it's gonna get awkward because I can't pull you or you know what I mean. Like you have to grow in excellence and you know what I mean.
And want to in a
Yeah,
real way.
yeah, and then just attention to detail. That's super important to me too. You know, like being like those small little things that you look over end up becoming a problem. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
What person would you transform yourself into for 24 hours if you could, and what would you do?
What person for 24 hours and what would I do? I think I did that last night. You know what I mean? I feel like I did that last night, where it was just like that person that just make a whole village proud. Oof, one of the sweetest, the highest act that a human being can do is inspire another human being. And I know that we achieved that last night, you know. And that is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do as an human being.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think we did that last night, you know. Yeah.
Um, what is a motto or creed that you try to live by, and what did it come from?
Um I say this a lot. I've been saying this a lot lately. It has a lot to do with not skipping any steps. You know, I felt like there was many times along my journey where I felt like I needed to get here. I needed to make a record with this artist, or I needed to get on that platform, and those things. I did it, and again, it didn't do anything for me that I thought it was going to do. What actually changed and moved the needle for me is me um, realizing the stage at where I'm at in my life and maximizing that and perfecting that before I get to the next stage. So don't skip any steps. That has been my mantra for the past, say, 2 years,
Okay.
where I'm like, yo, let's do this correctly. Like if it's only 50 people coming to your shows, make sure there's 60 people there. And then after you check that off your list, all right, now we're moving up to a 250 cap.
There you go.
And then we move up and we just nail every step of this journey rather than trying to look at step 3 and saying, oh, I need to get something from step 8 when I'm at step 3. No,
Yeah.
wait, don't rush it. I think the scariest part of being an artist is those quiet times along the journey where nobody's listening or there's not really much activity going on. Not many artists can make it through that quiet time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
What is a single thing that every person listening to you and your artistry can do to help you best live your dreams? And that's my last question.
Say it again. That's a powerful question.
What is the single thing that every person listening to you and your artistry can do to help you best live your dreams?
Me I live it already, man. Me I live my dream, man. I'm over here making music, bettering myself. I think even just before this award, we connect with people, and just to keep connecting with me, I think would be the answer in short form. Keep connecting with me because the more you connect with me, is the more I'm able to connect back with you. It's a continuous cycle that happens. But I feel like me I live my dream right now, man. The sense of making some of the best, like the 16-year-old self would be super proud of the music that I'm creating right now, or would be a big fan of it.
Okay.
And that's always a check for me. Like when I'm hearing this song, I put myself back into that youth who was just listening with him headphones in high school. Like, would he like this music? Would he think this is cool? And I feel like I've reached that part where I'm achieving that now, you know? So yeah.
Well, be proud, because
Yes.
you certainly made tons of others.
Yes.
So thank you.
Sheena,
It's
thank
been a
you
pleasure.
so much for
Thank you.
joining me and really being a part of this conversation and in this milestone moment in my life, you know. We definitely have to connect back again, you know what I mean? So this is just the first time in it, yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
man, give thanks.